spirit, our courage. That hope for a brighter tomorrow, strengthening us as a people with a commitment to wash our hands with soap and running water, sanitize our hands, and wear masks. Most importantly, we must help the needy to wear masks too. Support the Mask for All initiative now. Call 0595 851 160 and donate masks for the needy. This campaign is brought to you by a coalition of event managers and suppliers, supported by Accra Metropolitan Assembly and the Creative Arts Council. Media partner is the Multimedia Group. Masks for All. Protect you, save all.
If I don't find out who messed up the TV, I will sack all of you from this house.
Oh, I want marry. So marry, you could post, say, a serious boyfriend needed for some immediate relationship where they lead to marriage. Bad.
This is an attack from the pits of hell.
I receive it.
Hey, you receive what?
Hey, some faults come the motherboard. So it cause some torture for the motherboard.
What are you saying?
It simply means that the motherboard is not in a good condition, and the fatherboard too has acquired some.
Master and Three Maids, starting 19th June 2020 at 2:30 p.m.
Joy Prime, real entertainment.
The stage is set for the crowning of Ghana's biggest recording artist. Yes, it's the grand finale of Prime Studio Season 1. After 13 weeks of good musical talent, which of these contestants will take up the enviable tag of being crowned winner of Prime Studio Season 1? Is it Kisses, Good Boy Legend, Naja, Kwame Sticker, or Arte, who walks away with a prize package of over 80,000 Ghana cedis plus a 1-year recording deal for 2 singles under management? Remember that you still have the power to choose who wins the ultimate prize. Text PS followed by the name of your favorite contestant to the short code 1903 on all networks. It's the grand finale of Prime Studio, happening live on the 20th of June, exclusively on Joy Prime. Prime Studio, rock the world. 5 years of impact. 5 years of celebrating greatness to inspire greatness. The EMY Africa Awards.
Hello and welcome to Sport Africa.
The BBC's new weekly show will explore the big sporting issues and questions, like why Africans aren't winning medals in the pool.
I just think it's their mindset.
Meeting established and rising stars.
I could be the Nigerian first Grand Slam winner.
And at the heart of it will be you, the fans, with your passion, your opinions, your stories, and even tests.
Sports Africa.
Joy News Prime Headlines is brought to you by
Milo.
Tonight on Joy News Prime, Ghana's COVID-19 death toll now at 66, following the passing of 8 patients. As of June 15, 4 out of the 8 new deaths are as young as 30. Meanwhile, a 3-month-old baby could not survive the coronavirus in the northern region. According to doctors, she was referred to the Tamale Teaching Hospital.
The third death was a 3-month-old baby who was referred from Sablugu Hospital, became very breathless.
Also here on Joy News Prime, a security expert, Professor Kwesi Enin, questions government's refusal to sign a roadmap fashioned out by the National Peace Council to deal with the threat of party militia.
Well, if government doesn't assent to the document, then the document is not worth the paper it has been signed on. And that truly, if the initiator of the process itself is unwilling to sign, I would have thought that government would have signed first to indicate its willingness as the stronger party.
And later in business, Ghana's economy grows by 4.9% in the first quarter of 2020. But economist Courage Boti projects slow growth rate due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, 2 suspected incidents of rape and murder of women within 1 month at Kubiase in the Jusi municipality of the Ashanti region leaves residents in the area with fear and rage.
Yeah.
It was her turn to sweep, but she was still asleep. So I went to check on her in her room and realized she was stiff and not responding to my calls.
My name is Ernest Mino. Joy News Prime is coming to you live from our studios here at Kukumlemle in Accra on digital address GA09925539. We are also free to air on your digital terrestrial TV, and this bulletin is also live on DSTV, channel 421, GoTV 144. We are streaming live on YouTube and all our social media channels. Please stay with us.
Joy News Prime Headlines was brought to you by
Milo.
Let's settle for the details now. COVID-19 deaths in Ghana is now 66 following the passing of 8 patients as of June 15. 4 out of the 8 new deaths are in their 30s. 6 of the cases are from the Ashanti region, with 2 from the Greater Accra region. We have details of the mortalities on your screen. We have 397 new cases that have been recorded. The active cases now stands at 8,114 and recoveries at 4,410. And if you look on your screens, we have a 59-year-old female who died with comorbidity of diabetes in the Ashanti region. We also have one who was 69, a male, also dying with diabetes and hypertension. And then we have one with sickle cell as well, 62-year-old female, also dying there. There's one with hypertension, and also there are 2 others who have no comorbidities at all. They were not showing symptoms at all, but died of COVID-19. That is the latest as far as the death toll is concerned. We also have those who are critically ill, and in severe condition, 4 and 2 on ventilators. We have 5 at the UGMC, 3 at the Ga East. In terms of the severe cases, Kolebu has 3. We also have Konfanoche with 2, 1 in Ho, 1 at the police hospital. So 13 severe cases and 4 critical with 2 on ventilators. And of course, our new cases now 397, bringing us to in excess of 12,500. Of course, the total case count now is 12,590. That is the situation as far as COVID-19 is concerned in the country. Meanwhile, a 3-month-old baby among the COVID-19 deaths recorded in the northern region. The baby was referred to the Tamale Teaching Hospital according to health officials. The 2 others are a 24-year-old woman who was also referred from Bolga to the Tamale Teaching Hospital and an 80-year-old woman who died about 2 months ago. The northern region now has a total of 52 COVID-19 cases with 32 recoveries. The region's active cases are 17 with no critical cases. Now, speaking at a briefing in Tamale, the Northern Regional Director of Health Service, Dr. John Beston Eliza, said all active cases are being managed at home.
As we speak, we now have accumulated cases of 52 COVID-19 cases. We've had a total of 3 deaths. We have 32 recoveries. We've not had any critical case. And as we speak, we have 17 active cases, all being managed at home. Let me quickly add as the details of the deaths. There are 3 deaths. One is the 80-year-old lady who died somewhere in May and at the Central Hospital. Just last week, we had 2 additional deaths. A 24-year-old lady who was actually referred from Bolga in the Upper East to TTH. She spent just 6 hours, an hour on arrival, and then passed. But because of the era in which we are, the high index of suspicion made the staff to take a sample, and the sample came out later as being positive. The 3rd death was a 3-month-old baby who was referred from Savlugu Hospital and came in very breathless and this and that. Again, sample was taken, and he also didn't last that. He virtually died on the arrival, almost died on arrival, and so the sample was taken before that, and it also turned out to be positive for COVID.
Now, Dr. Beth Sewa is an adjunct assistant professor of medicine at the Nebraska Medical Center in the U.S. She joins us via Zoom for some analysis on this very sad story there, madam. We told about the 3-year-old baby losing her life, losing the fight against COVID-19. Our death toll and the demographics is becoming a major concern. What do you make of the situation from where you sit as an expert?
Thank you for having me on your program, and good evening to your audience. I think that once you start having death in babies and this degree of spread, with what I can observe from afar to be about 300 cases almost on a daily basis, it is a pointer to the extent of community spread that we have right now. And it means that certain measures must be enforced or put into place. I know that some have said, maybe we're testing more and that's why we're finding more cases. But here's the analogy I like to make. It's a very simple one that if you take a very rich person and they don't tell you they're rich, let's say they have 12 bank accounts. The fact that you are discovering their bank accounts does not make them rich. They were rich because they already had the bank account. So let's take the accounts to be cases. So if we say that we're finding the cases because, and that's what's accounting for our numbers, that's not exactly accurate, because if somebody has nothing in their bank accounts, you can find 1,000 of them and you will still have nothing. So in reality, we're actually finding these cases because there are more. And there's essentially about 3 things we need to do. One is the personal protection and distancing and putting on of masks. And we need to continue to find the cases and isolate them, because the less we find the cases, the more the asymptomatic people will be spreading to others. And of course, we have to continue our public health measures like churches not being open, schools being closed. But it looks like at this point, that is rather the new phase we are entering into. And places like China, where in Beijing, they're now enforcing some lockdowns, tell us that we need to rethink whether some places really need to go on lockdown.
And do you agree with those who are already saying that perhaps we should call that already? We should have some form of localized lockdowns because of the increasing cases we are seeing in some parts of the region, especially the Ashanti, the northern regions, like we're seeing now in Beijing, where, you know, some part of the city is going, or the province is going under lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely. That is what we need to do, especially if we can identify the hotspots, because Beijing actually, as of this morning, they only had 106 cases in that market, but to them 106 is way too much, and so they're enforcing lockdown and doing what they can because they cannot afford to be another epicenter. So that is the attitude we ought to have. And like I've always said in the past, with COVID-19, you have to overreact to actually be on time. In other words, you have to be proactive instead of reactive. At this point, we're in a reactive mode. It means we're waiting till we have a lot of cases before we ask, okay, oops, what do we do? Rather, we should be proactive and determine that, you know what, in a month or two, this is what we're going to have. And so these are the measures we need to put in place.
Now, I want us to look at the issue of treatment. In the northern region, all active cases, we are told, are being treated from home, despite the rising death toll and also the evidence that suggests that people who are in the treatment centers recover quickly and respond to treatment as compared to those at home. Will this strategy work for us?
Yes, in a lot of situations, that is what it has to be, because at this point, we know that a lot of our cases do not have severe symptoms. Okay. If there was a magic wand that will let you know which patients will progress to that severe case, then we could do that. So unfortunately, some people would have to be nursed at home, but then there has to be good communication, because from day 8 to 10, those who would get really ill develop what we call the cytokine storm. And sometimes it happens rapidly within hours and they can die. So the magic would be being able to communicate with these people who are at home so that we can pick out the ones who would go on to develop the severe illness that will require hospitalization, because it might not be practical to keep all these patients in the hospital. And I think that's what is happening in some of our hospitals in Greater Accra, where they're complaining, or even in Kumasi, Kompanochi, where we're complaining that the treatment centers are getting full. So
Absolutely.
If people are not severely ill, it's okay for them to go home, so long as we know the home condition is such that they're not going to spread more disease to the people at home.
And I guess that is where the challenge is. Meanwhile, 97 health officials in the Ashanti region alone have been infected. As of Friday, when I spoke to the GMA, the national figure was 70. In the Ashanti region today, we are being told that 97. I mean, what should we be doing as far as the treatment and the protection of our healthcare workers, the front line, is concerned, so we can avert a crisis situation at the hospitals?
As of this morning, I was hearing that some of the Nigerian doctors have laid down their tools, saying they need personal protective equipment. And so we need to make sure that these healthcare workers have all that they need to take care of themselves. And from what I've seen, it looks like Ghana is doing a fairly good job in terms of the kind of outfit that the healthcare workers put on to take care of the infected patients. And so these need to be available. And secondly, we need to re-educate some people. Maybe people have forgotten the protocols they need to put in place. And then the other thing too is, as of a few weeks ago, a lot of the healthcare workers who had fallen ill were not those in the treatment centers, because they know the procedures, they know what to do. So we need to educate all healthcare workers, even in clinics that we're not sure they will be exposed to COVID-19, because if we're hitting 13,000 cases, it means a lot of patients will present in settings where we don't even expect them to have COVID-19, but they may be exposing the healthcare workers.
And just a quick one on that in just 1 minute, because we're running out of time on this interview. On testing, should we be doing mass testing now, targeting, even if it's in phases? Should we be doing that?
Yeah, I understood that that's what we're doing in addition to the enhanced contact tracing and testing, my understanding was that we were doing mass testing, and I could be wrong.
We're actually not doing that, but I want to thank you very much for your time here on Joy News Prime. That's Dr. Bertha Sewa-Ayi with the Nebraska Medical Center in the U.S. She is an adjunct professor of medicine. Thank you very much for your time. Now, the Ghana Health Service has also responded to a number of issues raised by Occupy Ghana. In a statement yesterday, we spoke to Kweku Sedbefia, who threw more light on the issues that they think that the Ghana Health Service must respond to. They have done so, and my colleague Gifty and Pia has been going through the statement released by the Ghana Health Service. Gifty, let's start with the issue of the case count and what the Ghana Health Service has to say in response to the claim of figures being massaged.
Kojo, so essentially, let me just tell you how they describe the concerns raised by Occupy Ghana. They describe it as, unfortunately, they describe it as something that seeks to impugn the professional integrity of health workers who are managing the pandemic. They say that they would have wished that Occupy Ghana rather genuinely sought explanations to get better understanding of what is being done by the health sector. So in terms of case count, they talk about cumulative count and the fact that it cannot decline. They say that what should be of concern are the daily reported new cases. They go on to indicate that the isolated spikes in local, or what's happening is just isolated spikes in localized institutions and localities, and does not represent generalized diffused community spread. And then they go on to say that it is worth noting that in the last 1 week, 3 regions and 176 districts out of the 260 districts have not reported any new cases. So
let's touch on the issue of bed and space. Occupy Ghana did raise an issue that the facilities are being overstretched. What is the Ghana Health Service's response to that?
Well, in terms of bed and space, they say that we have never, and I'm quoting from the document itself, they say we have never exceeded our bed capacity as a country. We started this process with 450 bed capacity, which has increased to 700. It goes on to say that at the moment, we have 71 treatment centers across the country, and 21 of them are idle. That's what the Ghana Health Service is saying. And then they continue to say that they're working with the regions to increase the bed capacity for moderate to severe critical cases. They give an example, and they say that the 12-bed COVID-19 ICU wing that is coming up at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital is part of the efforts they are making to expand our ability to host people who need to be at the treatment centers. And they say that the largest isolation center that is used for those who are largely asymptomatic is the Pentecost Convention Center. As of 16th June, which is yesterday, they say that they had 356 inpatients, and the center has never operated at maximum capacity.
And that is very interesting, considering the news that is coming in from the Ashanti region today about the facilities being full and the health directorate in the region asking people to help them in terms of isolation centers and space to be able to admit people for treatment and also isolation. Gifty, thank you very much for bringing us portions of that statement by the Ghana Health Service. Now, government is asking every Ghanaian to take personal responsibility in the country's quest to halt the spread of COVID-19 infections. So far, more than 12,000 persons have been infected and 66 have died. But as the country moves to a critical phase of the fight against the virus, Deputy Health Minister Dr. Bernard Okoboy has been relaying Ghanaians to do their little to support government in the effort to fight COVID-19. He's been speaking to journalists at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital when the Chinese community in Ghana donated ventilators and other COVID-19 logistics to the facility.
Remember, nobody can be in a room for more than 1 year on lockdown. So every germ, whether bacteria or virus, when we have it discovered, people are asked to slow down and stay at home once the virus or bacteria is studied. Once we have knowledge about how it moves, then you can go back to your life, but with precautions. And that's why we've not told anybody to buy a condom with SARS-CoV-2, because we know it's not about, that's not a transmission. It is through droplets. And so once we've given you education, that becomes your tools for staying alive. And government alone cannot be the one who would ensure you stay safe. You also have a responsibility. In fact, your responsibility is more potent because it is at your discretion and your control.
You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Anna Smith. We're taking a break. When we return, we'll bring you more COVID-19 cases, especially from the Ashanti region, plus the latest in business. Stay with us.
Breakfast a day. Every day.
Every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
COVID-19 has changed the world. But despite the challenges we face, the spirit of Africanacity is still alive. It's in the tenacity of the men and women who are still keeping us safe and keeping us going. It's in the creativity you use to find new ways to work, teach, do it all, and stay together, even if you're apart. And it's in the ingenuity of all those who are making a difference. Thank you to everyone still getting things done. Your Africanacity inspires us.
When you wake up in the morning before you start your day, breakfast time is Kellogg's time. For work and for play, for a great start to your day, breakfast time is Kellogg's time.
We always start our day with a nourishing Kellogg's breakfast, powered with the goodness of grains and 11 essential vitamins and minerals. So in our family, breakfast time is Kellogg's time.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
What? Such bad results in my house? This you don't want to disgrace me, eh? Hey, Ayayi, Ishira, Adom,
Asida,
come here right now. Look at your results. B, C, B, C, B, C, no S. Why?
Honey, take this Calipo and cool down.
I will not cool down. This has never happened in the family. I was always first and never got BC, BC, BC. Always A.
C, FE, 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 FE. That's all the grade you had. Chinasi. Abi, you know Dada.
Calipo, the natural fruit juice drink. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by
good evening. My name is Sandra S. and I'm coming to you from home, and let's do the business news. In our first story tonight, Ghana's economy grew by 4.9% in the first quarter of 2020 compared to a growth rate of 6% the same period in 2019. The latest data from the Ghana Statistical Service says it was anchored on the services sector of 9.5%, and economists with Data Bank, Courage Booty, has been reacting to these figures.
We're also seeing the impact of lower oil prices that came as a result of these COVID issues also probably playing a part, and its full impact is not even reflected in there yet. So we can say that the industrial sector is looking like because of the issues we've had with tallow and the major, and Ghana's major oil field for the quarter. You look at the services sector and you see the major driver there has been ICT, a whopping 77.4% growth in that sector. And that is actually the orientation the whole country is turning into now, an ICT-driven economy. And given that a lot of people have had to work from home during the COVID season, you could even expect more, sterling performance from that sector, going into the second and third quarters of the year, because that is where everybody seems to be, driving towards now.
So I was going to ask, which is my final question to you tonight. I was going to ask, since the COVID started at the latter part of the third month of the year, what's the outlook going to be in the next quarter? You expect a grimmer outlook?
Expecting slower growth, and the impact should hit, especially in the second quarter, because if you remember, it was in April that we went on a 3-week lockdown. Major cities in Ghana, the Greater Accra and Greater Kumasi area, and that is the economic hub really of the country. So with the lockdown and its associated slowdown in productivity, we should expect a widespread contraction across some sectors, which may ultimately recover. It should be a positive growth in the end, but very slim growth, I think.
We still stay on the coronavirus pandemic, and the Trades Union Congress, TUC, has submitted a report to government asking for the establishment of a labor insurance fund, which they believe would anchor jobs during future disasters. Speaking on the preliminary report, the Director of Research and Policy Institutes of the TUC, Kwabena Nyago, stated that government must prepare now towards a future to avert the current situation we are experiencing.
We were also proposing workers' compensation insurance scheme, something like unemployment insurance, in which both workers and employers will contribute, so that if the next pandemic or crisis hit, we could fall on that fund to be able to pay workers something and not just throw them onto the streets. Like I said, it's similar to the unemployment insurance, but you know that in Europe, unemployment insurance was actually started by the unions. It was later taken over by government. But even in Scandinavia, governments still do unemployment insurance through the unions. It's one of the reasons why Scandinavia still has a very high unionization rate, because they are actually deeply involved in the unemployment insurance. We were also proposing a social grant for households that are actually in the lowest quantile, the poor households. So you give them the equivalent of our poverty line, which is about 140 Ghana cedis per month. So that's a social grant. They do it in South Africa, or they are doing it as part of the COVID lockdown. You cannot lock people down into their house without giving them something. So in South Africa, they implemented a social grant for poor households. Now, the reason why we are proposing that you don't have to sack your workers is simple. If you sack your worker and he goes to sit home, he may die before the crisis is over because he has no income. Now, when the crisis is over and he doesn't die, the process of coming back to the same workers may not be smooth.
In more news tonight, a $20 million soybean cultivation project has been commissioned at Sape community in the Moi district of the northern region. The 40,000-acre farm is said to be one of the biggest in the region. Correspondent Martina Bubri has more.
The project is to increase domestic food production to address the major vulnerabilities in Ghana's food supply chain that has been further disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and also to offer employment to about 400 people in the area. At the launch, some farmers who spoke to Joy News said the project will address the loophole in the price and value chain of soya bean. Madam Abiba said it will also help them farm soya bean in large quantities.
It will help us increase our farming, and we will sell it directly to you and make more profit. We will not sell it to the market women again.
The project coordinator in the community, Ganiu Osman, believes the project will succeed and farmers will benefit immensely.
And the reason why we give this largest farm to the gold company, we are here, we cannot get support to do largest like how the gold company did. And this one, we are committed people, we are praying to Almighty Allah to support them so that the community can benefit through this farm.
The Chief Executive Officer of GGF, George Boachi Sapon, said they decided to invest in the project, especially in the northern region, because of the suitable climatic condition of the area and the vast arable land.
I've traveled every part of this country and have identified that there are huge lands here that are arable and suitable. Again, the climatic and the soil condition is very good for the crops that we are doing, mainly maize and soybean.
And that will be all for the first part of business. Ernest, over to you in the studio. It feels a bit weird though.
It definitely must feel weird. We'll talk about the experience later, but great presentation there. What should you expect in the second half when you join us?
Well, in the second part of business, we'll be going to the Tema Port. There's been a standoff at the Tema Port over disputes over who should handle container vessel businesses at the port. We'll be having an interaction with them later when I come back after 8 p.m. Ernest.
Thank you very much, Sandra. That's my colleague Sandra Esnawapen, bringing us business from home. You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Mini. Let's bring you more stories on COVID-19. Health authorities in the Ashanti region warn of increased COVID-19 infection due to the growing public apathy to the preventive protocols. Regional Health Director Dr. Emmanuel Tinkran describes the open disregard for preventive measures as worrying. The region has so far recorded 2,405 COVID-19 positive cases and 38 deaths. 97 health workers, including the late medical director of the Kwadaso SDA Hospital, Dr. Harry Osubuatin, have fallen victim. My colleague Ohemin Teria has more in the following report.
18 of the health professionals who have contracted COVID-19 are medical officers, with a whopping 47 being nursing officers. Midwives, disease control officers and others have also been infected. It comes as the Health Directorate struggles to expand treatment centers in the region. Dr. Emmanuel Tinkran announced at a media briefing 2 treatment centers at Komfanoche and Kumasi South hospitals are already full.
All the treatment centers are now full. Komfanoche have 18 beds. The 18 beds are now full. Kumasi South have 20 beds. So as at now, we have a total of 38 beds. All the 38 beds are now full. We are going to expand Kumasi South from existing 20 beds to 41 beds. As at now, we've been given another ward. Work is rapidly ongoing to make sure that we expand it. We've also secured 7 beds at Central Hospital to support our treatment facilities. And we are also negotiating with one of our senior doctors who has decided to give us his hospital to be used as a treatment center. We hope that we can add about 100 beds to the treatment centers that we have to make sure that it will be up to about 138 beds. Because the numbers that we have here and the number of cases that we are getting, it's said that we cannot contain it.
Amid the concerns, residents continue to openly ignore preventive protocols on COVID-19. Dr. Tinkran observed Veronica buckets, which were common in the recent past for hand washing, for instance, have disappeared. Wearing of face masks and social distancing protocols are breached with reckless abandon. The regional director says the development is recipe for disaster in COVID-19 management.
You feel so disheartened because people don't want to adhere to the protocols and then the guidelines. Now we don't see the Veronica buckets anywhere. The social distancing protocol, nobody is observing it. You tell people to wear face masks and they are insulting you. With this, we can't fight COVID-19. People get conditioned, we want to support them, they fight with us. How can we fight COVID-19 in this situation? The buck starts with you. The president has instructed that we enforce it. This morning, I went around looking whether people will adhere to what the president said. Some of them, they've disregarded what the president said. They are still walking around without their face mask. They are not observing the social distancing. So what do you want us to do? Because right now, you know we've lost a doctor, a hard-working doctor. And if it's to continue this way, what will happen? We are going to lose more. The facilities that we have in Ashanti region, as far as case management is concerned, is nothing to write home about. Ashanti, apart from Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, we don't have any facility that we can say can manage severe and critically ill. And that means that if we continue in this direction, we will see high mortalities.
Checks by the news team on the streets revealed traders, especially in the central business district of Adum, wore no face mask. At the Ghana Revenue Authority premises, many had gathered in their numbers in the name of registering for tax identification numbers. Dr. Tinkran says the Health Directorate is seeking the support of the Regional Security Council for intensified enforcement.
Regional minister came out with even a guideline on nose mask, that those without nose mask should be arrested by the police and then they will be given some manual job to do. The human rights people came in. And one thing is that these people are just distractors. They came in and said, oh, it's against basic human rights. The death of a doctor, is it more against human rights than that person who is not wearing face mask? I was the regional minister yesterday. He has said it, that we will have to make sure that we enforce the law.
From Kumasi, Ohime Teria reporting.
The Deputy Minister of Health has also been responding to concerns by doctors at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital about the lack of space to treat COVID-19 patients. He says the country's treatment capacity is being expanded to meet the increasing caseload.
Kumasi, if you have a COVID case that is critical, they are handled at Komfo-Anokye and one or two designated places. What the doctors are asking for is a GAITS-like facility, a facility completely dedicated to COVID cases, like the way we have in GAIST. And two hospitals are being considered. The Bekwai Hospital, which is just near completion, about 98 or 95%, and also the military hospital in the Ashanti region. So the ministry is working with Ministry of Finance to make sure that we get the resources and quickly make them facilities that will be available for COVID. There are lessons we have to learn from this. The first lesson is that there is spread in the community, and so all of us must take the precautions very seriously. And most of the cases we are seeing are people with serious comorbidities, people who are cancer patients, some HIV patients, kidney patients, who come in coughing or having fever and then realize they have COVID. When you have all these conditions already and COVID sets in, the risk of mortality or death is even higher. And so for us, the lesson is that there is the virus in the community, just as there is HIV virus in the community. I say it all the time that there are at least 500,000 people in Ghana living with HIV. But we still go out and are not